Namaste dear students and welcome to the virtual learning of SL English Medium School. Today in this video, we are going to wind up the Dear Departed drama. In the videos previously, we already had discussed about the said drama and we learned the characters and how the two daughters and their husbands respectively have tried to give more importance to the property that belonged to Mr. Abel Merriweather and how quick they were to share, to divide his things up even before confirming his death. We had been discussing this drama for a while now, and in this video today we are going to wind up the Dear Departed drama. To those students that have not followed the previous videos, I urge you to go back to those videos and then come back here to understand the lesson in a wider perspective and clearer picture. So without further delay, now let us try to recap the drama where we had stopped. The family of Mr. Abel Merriweather, all along with his daughters and his son-in-laws, all had presumed Mr. Abel Merriweather to be dead. But to their shock, he comes back to life. But previously, before he was coming back to life and coming down the stairs to sit with them for tea, Mrs. Emilia Slater and Henry Slater already had moved his belongings, namely slippers, bureau, and a handsome clock. Now when he comes back to life in their understanding, and when he comes down to sit with them for the tea, they are trying to cover things up. And we hear Victoria Slater saying, "Grandpa, I'm glad you are not dead." And we also hear her mother, Mrs. Emilia Slater, trying to cover it up, saying she is sorry about your head and not dead. So that's where we had stopped, and today we are going to resume from there, learning the Dear Departed drama. Victoria: "Oh Grandpa, I'm so glad you are not dead." Mrs. Slater in a vindictive whisper: "Hold your tongue, Victoria." Abel: "Eh? What's that? Who's gone dead?" Mrs. Slater loudly: "Victoria says she's sorry about your head." Abel: "Ah, thank you, Vicky, but I'm feeling better." Abel: "Why, Ben, you are in mourning, and Lizzie too, and Emilia and Henry and little Vicky, who is gone dead? It's someone in the family." He chuckles. Mrs. Slater: "No one, you know, father, a relation of Ben's." Abel: "And what relation of Ben's?" Mrs. Slater: "His brother." So dear students, in this paragraph, Victoria, a little girl, the daughter of Mrs. Emilia Slater, slips her tongue, saying, "Oh Grandpa, I'm so glad you are not dead." But her mother very promptly corrects her, saying, "Hold your tongue, Victoria," and tries to cover it up for Mr. Abel, saying, "Victoria says she is sorry about your head." But then Emilia is trying to patch it up what Victoria had slipped out, the truth. Then Abel observes everybody: Ben, Elizabeth, Emilia, Henry, and Victoria. All of them are wearing the new mourning, a black dress which is worn usually when a person in the family is dead. So he asks, "Who is gone dead?" Again Emilia is trying to cover it up, saying, "Yeah, someone is gone dead, but you have no idea who it is. So there's no question of trying to know or inquire who was gone dead. It is Ben's relation." And then again Abel is trying to inquire even more, saying, what relation of Ben? And again Emilia's saying that it is the brother of Ben. The words you should be knowing in this paragraph are glad, which means happy, vindictive, commanding, whisper, speaking slowly, and then Vicky refers to Victoria, Lizzie refers to Elizabeth, and chuckling is throwing your shoulders into the air in an expressive mode. And that's all. Moving on to the next paragraph. Ben to Mrs. Slater. Ben is speaking to Emilia Slater. Damn it, I never had one. Here one refers to brother. Ben is saying, I never had a brother. Don't tell my brother is dead because I never had one brother. Then Abel, not hearing their conversation, says, dear, dear. And what was his name, Ben? Ben at a loss. Now Ben doesn't know what name to give and he is at a loss, saying, he crosses to front of a table. Then Mrs. Slater, Emilia Slater is again from the right side of the table prompting Frederick, and from left side we hear Mrs. Jordan, Albert. Then Ben comes up with a very new name saying Fred, Alb, Isaac. So here we see on the side of that both side of the table, from the left side his wife Elizabeth is speaking, from right side Emilia Slater is speaking, and they give both two names. Emilia says Frederick, Elizabeth says Albert, but Ben doesn't have any idea what to name the dead. Then Abel says, Isaac? And where did your brother Isaac die? Then Ben says, in Australia. Abel rising, well, I suppose you've only been waiting for me to begin tea. I'm feeling hungry. Mrs. Slater, taking up the kettle, I'll make tea. Abel, come along. Now, sit you down and let's be jolly. Abel sits at the table, facing spectators. Here, after trying to figure out who was dead, Abel says, yeah, let's have tea, I'm hungry. I think you are all waiting for me to begin tea. But he didn't know that they all his family actually presumed him to be dead. Now, after Emilia Slater brings up the kettle, they start having tea. And Abel is facing the spectators. Spectators means the audience. Remember, they are on the stage and Abel is facing the spectators and others are sitting at the table. And he says, come along. He says, come on. Sit down and let's be jolly, let's be happy. So in this, the only word that you need to be knowing is jolly, which means to be happy. Abel, suddenly recollecting, hey Emilia and Henry, what the devil did you mean by shifting my bureau out of my bedroom? Henry and Mrs. Slater are speechless. Do you hear me, Henry, Emilia? Mrs. Jordan, what bureau was that, father? Abel, why, my bureau, the one I bought. So the first thing he is trying to remember is the bureau that was supposed to be in his bedroom, but now it is in the downstairs. Now Abel is asking Emilia and Henry why they had brought the bureau down. Until now, Elizabeth and Ben didn't know that the bureau that was downstairs actually belonged to Mr. Abel Merriweather. So Abel is saying, suddenly recollecting, recollecting means remembering. Hey Emilia and Henry, what the devil did you mean by shifting my bureau out of my bedroom? He says, what the devil did you mean? It's an expression of saying, what the hell did you mean by shifting? Shifting means bringing down. Changing one's position is called shifting. My bureau out of my bedroom. Henry and Mrs. Slater, what is their expression? They are speechless. Do you hear me, Henry, Emilia? Then Elizabeth is asking her father, what bureau was that, father? Then Abel says, why my bureau? The one I bought. So he makes it clear that the bureau actually was not bought by Henry, as Emilia stated previously, but the bureau was actually bought by Mr. Abel Merriweather. Now it will be interesting to see how Elizabeth is going to respond when she is understanding that they actually stole the bureau of her father. Mrs. Jordan, pointing to the bureau. Was it the one, father? Abel says. Ah, that's it. What's it doing there? Eh? A pause. The clock on the mantelpiece strikes 6. Everyone looks at it. What the devil's been going on in this house? A slight pause. Ben. Well, I'll be hanged. Mrs. Jordan, rising. I'll tell you what's been going on in this house, father. Nothing short of robbery. Mrs. Slater. Be quiet, Elizabeth. Mrs. Jordan. Oh, I call it double-faced. Henry. Now, Elizabeth. So now everything has become clear for Elizabeth. Elizabeth understands that Henry and Emilia together stole the father's bureau, slippers, and clock. In this paragraph, we see Mrs. Jordan. Elizabeth is speaking the dialogue, pointing to the bureau. She is looking at the bureau and talking to the father. Was it the one, father? Is this the bureau that you bought? Is this yours? Then Abel says, ah, that's it. What's it doing here? He's asking Emilia and Henry, why did they bring the bureau down? Then there was a pause, silence. Then remember, they placed the clock. Emilia placed the clock on the mantelpiece, and the clock has struck 6. Everyone looks at it. Then all looked at it. Then Abel is saying, drat me. He's saying, my God, it's an expression of showing your shock. If that isn't my clock too. He says, that is my clock. The clock that is on the mantelpiece is mine. What is it doing here? What the devil's been going on in this house? What the hell was happening? Why is this house on madness? Then again a slight pause. A little pause, silence. Ben says, well, I'll be hanged. So Ben understands that the situation is going to be awkward. Then Mrs. Jordan, rising. Elizabeth is standing up and she says, I'll tell you what's been going on in this house, father. Nothing short of robbery. She says, there was a robbery in the house. The people are stealing. Then Emilia says to Elizabeth, be quiet, Elizabeth. Then Mrs. Jordan says, I'll not be quiet. Oh, I call it double-faced. Then Henry says, now, Elizabeth. Henry is trying to calm Elizabeth, saying, now, Elizabeth, please be quiet. But Elizabeth says it is double-faced. That means it is cheating. Mrs. Jordan, and you too, are you such a poor creature that you must do every dirty thing she tells you? Abel, rising, thumping the table. Damn it all. Will someone tell me what's been going on? Mrs. Jordan, yes, I will. I'll not see you robbed. Abel, who's been robbing me? Mrs. Jordan, Emilia and Henry. They've stolen your clock and bureau. Working herself up, they sneaked into your room like thieves in the night and stole them after you were dead. Henry and Mrs. Slater together. Hush! Quiet! Elizabeth! Mrs. Jordan, I'll not be stopped. After you were dead, I say. So here Elizabeth is explaining the every clear, minute thing that was happening in the house. And she stands up and says, Henry and Emilia were trying to stole the things of Mr. Abel Merriweather. She says they sneaked into your room like thieves. Sneak means very stealthily, very calmly entering into something without attracting any attention in the night and stole them after you were dead. So now she is breaking the glass, saying they thought that Abel was actually dead. Now Emilia and Henry are trying to calm Elizabeth, saying, "Hush, quiet, Elizabeth." But Elizabeth says, "I will not be stopped." She says, "Nobody can stop me. I have to tell what had happened in the house to the father." And she says, "After you were dead, I say." Now she says, Emilia and Henry thought, of course, they told us we to believed that you were actually dead. And after they thought you were dead, they started stealing your things. And that's how they stole your slippers, bureau, and the clock. In this paragraph, the words you need to understand and learn are poor creature. That means dirty one, thumping the table, hitting on the table, robed, stealing, working herself up, preparing, sneak, stealthily moving, and hush is an expression of attracting silence. Abel: "After who was dead?" Mrs. Jordan: "You." Abel: "But I'm not dead." Mrs. Jordan: "No, but they thought you were." A pause. Abel gazes round at them. Abel: "Oh, so that's why you are all in black today. You thought I was dead." He chuckles. "That was a big mistake." He sits and resumes his tea. Mrs. Slater, sobbing: "Father." Abel: "It didn't take you long to start dividing my things between you. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Since your mother died, I've lived part of my life with you, Emilia, and part with you, Lizzie. Well, I shall make a new will, leaving all my bits of things to whoever I am living with when I die. How does that strike you?" Mrs. Jordan: "You know, Father, it's quite time you came to live with us again. We'd make you very comfortable." So here in this paragraph, what was happening is Elizabeth made it very clear to her father that Henry and Emilia thought, and also informed them, telegrammed them, saying that Mr. Abel Merriweather was actually dead. And thinking that he was dead, they started dividing his things up. Now, Abel Merriweather understood everything in detail, and he is speaking to them, saying, "Since your mother died, I've lived some time with you, Elizabeth, some time with you, Emilia. Now I will make a new will." Now, will is a statement somebody writes about his property or her property, which would be divided in lawful manner to whoever he wishes and in the manner he wishes. So the people that are elite and rich usually makes a will that would be giving details and guidance on how his property would be spent. So he says, "I'll make a new will." Now he says, "I'll make a new will, which is when I die, whoever I am living with. For example, I die in the house of Elizabeth, all my property will go to Elizabeth. If I am dying in the house of Emilia, all my property will belong to Emilia. And he says, how does that strike you? Now, how does that strike you means, what do you think about it? So Elizabeth is now talking to her father, saying, Father, it's been very long time since you came and lived in our house. So please come, live with us. We'll make you very comfortable. But pay attention, dear students. Here, Elizabeth's intention is to acquire property and not to take care of her father. Mrs. Slater, no, he's not been with us as long as he was with you. But Emilia says, he has to live with us because he didn't spend much time with us as much as he did with you. Then Elizabeth says, I may be wrong, but I don't think father will fancy living on with you after what's happened today. So Elizabeth is saying, I don't think father will like what has happened today. You goons tried to rob our own father. So father will not appreciate living with you. Then Abel says, it seems to me that the neither of you has any cause to feel proud about the way you've treated me. So Abel says, you cannot take pride. You cannot be happy about the way you treated me today. Then Mrs. Slater says, if I've done anything wrong, I'm sure I'm sorry for it. So Emilia is quickly saying sorry to her father. Then Elizabeth says, and I can't say more than that too. Elizabeth also is apologizing. Why? Because they are afraid they will not inherit his property if they do not please him, if they do not make him happy. Then Abel says, it's a bit late to say it now. Neither of you cared to put up with me. He says, it's very late that you apologize, to say sorry. None of you cared to take care of me. None of you cared to bear me. Then Mrs. Slater and Mrs. Jordan together say, both his daughters together say, no, father. Then Abel says, hey, you both say that because of what I've told you about leaving my money. Well, since you don't want me, I'll go to someone that does. So Abel says, you did not want me. Both you, Elizabeth, and Emilia, you both did not want me. So I'll go to somebody who actually wants me. Ben, come, Mr. Merriweather, you've got to live with one of your daughters. Ben says, don't be stupid. You have either to live with Emilia or with Elizabeth. You've got to live with one of your daughters. You have no other choice. Who do you have, after all, to go to? You have to live either with Elizabeth or Emilia. Don't be stupid. In this paragraph, you need to be knowing the words fancy, which means entertaining, liking, or loving, and then cause, which means reason, put up, which means to care for. Abel, I'll tell you what I've got to do. On Monday next, I've got to do 3 things. I've got to go to the lawyer and alter my will, and I've got to go to the insurance office to pay my premium, and I've got to go to St. Philip's Church and get married. Ben and Henry, what? Mrs. Jordan, get married. Mrs. Slater, he's out of his senses. General consternation. Abel, I say I'm going to get married. Mrs. Slater, who to? Now after Ben saying to Abel, you have got to live either with Elizabeth or with Emilia, Abel comes up with another option which they didn't think was there. He says, I have 3 things to do on next Monday. Firstly, I have got to go to the lawyer and alter my will. Alter means change. I have to change my will. What is it changing it to? I'm going to give my whole property to whoever I am living with when I am dying. And secondly, he is going to pay the premium at the insurance office. Thirdly, he is going to St. Philip's Church to get married. And everybody is shocked. In this paragraph, the words you need to be knowing are alter, which means changing, consternation, shock are the two words that you should be knowing in this paragraph. Abel: we've had it fixed up a good while now, but I was keeping it for a pleasant surprise. He rises: I felt I was a bit of a burden to you, so I found someone who'd think it a pleasure to look after me. We shall be very glad to see you at the ceremony. He gets to the door. Till Monday then, 12 o'clock at St. Philip's Church. Opening the door. It's a good thing you brought that bureau downstairs, Emilia. It'll be handier to carry it across to the Ringo Bells on Monday. He goes out. The curtain falls. So dear students, with this final dialogue, the drama ends. In this dialogue, Abel is shocking everybody, saying, I'm going to get married to Mrs. John Shorrocks, who keeps the Ringo Bells. You had seen in the picture the Ringo Bells. And he says, we fixed it, we repaired the Ringo Bells, and we are going to live there in that house the following my marriage. So he says, on Monday I'm going to get married because you people are finding it very burden to take care of me. So I'm going to somebody who takes pleasure in taking care of me. So from this we should all learn how we should start loving people that love us and let go the people that actually do not give us their time, do not give us their love. So the entire drama, The Dear Departed, helps us learn this one basic thing. There are multiple lessons. Primarily, we should be valuing the people for what they are, for who they are, and not for what they have. And secondly, we should start loving people that give us their time, that give us their love, that give us value to our lives and being, instead of groping behind the people that actually do not value, do not take it a pleasure for our existence in their life. So these are the two important life lessons that Mr. William Stanley Hewden is trying to convey to us. Firstly, to give value to the people and not to their properties and things. Secondly, we should be going behind the people that love us and not the people that reject us. I hope you have enjoyed learning the drama. I urge you all to read it multiple times and understand it in a better way. Thank you all. Stay home, stay safe.